We are back again with the National AIDS Council HIV and COVID-19 webinars that we bring to you every Monday to Friday and discussing all issues HIV and AIDS as well as COVID-19. The social stigma and taboos surrounding menstruation often prevent women and girls from attending work as well as school. Even when they do attend while menstruating, the lack of access to menstrual hygiene products, lack of sanitation infrastructures, as well as private toilets, hand washing facilities, as well as lack of menstrual hygiene education can and often prevent women and girls from reaching their full potential in the classroom, in the workplace, as well as at home. This has also an impact on accessing HIV and AIDS as well as sexual and reproductive health services. And tomorrow, we are going to be commemorating Menstrual Health and Hygiene Day. As we prepare to commemorate this very important day, today we want to explore the importance of this subject and the young girls' menstrual health and hygiene issues. And helping me to deal with this very important issue, we have Saliwe Zakaria. She is with the Talia Women Network, where she is the director. We also have two young girls. We have Sibonginkosi Mshapaidze, who is with the Young People's Network on Sexual Reproductive Health and HIV and AIDS as part of the Secretariat. We also have Daphne Nyamathene, who is a student at the University of Zimbabwe. Ladies, welcome to our webinar.
Thank you.
Yes, I'll start off with you, Saliwe. Could you share with us what is Talia Women Network?
So Talia Women's Network is an organization really whose mission is to instill life skills to women and girls so that they're able to harness social and economic opportunities and improve their quality of lives, not just for themselves, but their families and their communities as well. Yeah.
And when we are talking of the issue that we are looking at today, when we're talking about menstrual health and hygiene, what exactly are we talking about?
Okay, so when we are talking about menstrual health and hygiene, we are talking about the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being of women and girls, particularly with regards to menstruation and the menstrual cycle. So we are not just looking at the absence of disease or also just availability of menstrual hygiene products, but we are looking as well as their health and well-being, particularly on the mental health as well. Yeah.
And why is menstrual health and hygiene important to young women and girls?
Menstrual health and hygiene is important because women and girls need information, for starters, on the menstrual cycles. We know growing up, menarche, when you start the menstruation cycle, is quite an uncomfortable stage for young girls. So they need information about what's happening with their bodies biologically, and also how to deal with it from a hygiene perspective. And even if they face any discomforts, how then do I proceed? How do I deal with it? It's also important because women and girls also need the materials and the facilities for them to have a comfortable period. So we are talking about access to menstrual hygiene products, but we're also looking at water and sanitation issues, particularly when you look in the school setup. Do they have adequate toilets and water and hygiene facilities for them to have comfortable periods? It's also then important because not everyone's menstrual cycle is smooth sailing and flowing. So some of them will have complications, some would have difficulties. So they need to be aware of these so that they're properly diagnosed and they get the proper treatment as well. So women and girls really should have the freedom to participate in all spheres of life. And menstruation is a natural body process which should not inhibit them from participating in school, work, social settings, whatever it is.
Yeah, indeed, menstruation is a natural process that every woman actually goes through. So, Sibonginkosi, coming to you as a young woman, what would you say are the menstrual health and hygiene issues that are affecting you as young women, as young girls?
Thank you, Tari. As young girls and young women, we have a number of factors that are affecting us. Primarily the lack of sanitary wear. things such as pads and cotton, they are very expensive. Right. We can also look at in schools, washing facilities, you know, for those girls who are still in high school, it's a challenge. They need that privacy. They need water to be able to change consistently. Another thing is there is a lack of dissemination of accurate information when they go on their periods. Many of them are not told that you have to change every 6 hours. They don't have that information. So she can go on for 6 hours or more the whole day, you know, and so we're lacking that information as young women.
Yes, Daphne, I want to come to you. Coming from a tertiary institution, what would you say are the main issues when you are looking at menstrual health and hygiene that are affecting you, particularly at tertiary institutions, in addition to what Sibo has mentioned?
Yeah, we as the tertiary institution girls, what is affecting us most is the issue of privacy. When our peers are having their menstrual cycles, they tend to feel uncomfortable going to change their sanitary ways and in those public toilets. And the public toilets also don't have that facility of those who are having their menstrual cycles so that they can use that room only. There are just three rooms and the space is very limited. So it would be very difficult for somebody who is having their menstrual cycle to go in there whilst everyone else is also using the same and also waiting. They'll be actually having a queue to enter in the bathrooms, and you know, it's very difficult.
Yeah,
something specifically for yes. Then because others one don't pindao, don't some of us, you know, people want to maintain their privacy. They don't want those to see which periods because you know socially kwakasiyana one coach yawe inenge shotonizo aufano zikanirwa madays ako so kuti munasomanya kuti aumboenda kuhostel kana aumboenda kurace kuti anochinja munanga chingoda pengodini pekungopinda pari separate. So if there is a facility kuti it's only for those who are having their menstruals, then it will be fine.
This is fascinating me, Saliwe, in terms of what she's alluding to. Kuti as young girls, and stoda somewhere pari private, because and sometimes I found kuti urukuma periods. Is that how it is? And when we are setting aside a day where we are saying we are commemorating this, should it be like that?
So, Tariro, what she says is very true, especially with regards to taboos regarding menstruation. Looking at our cultural background as well. You see that even for us to be sitting here talking about menstruation is actually a very big step, because these are things that were not discussed before. And most of us, when we were growing up in the homes, right, even baba, so then who buys the pads?
Exactly.
So it's been something that's been treated with so much secrecy for the longest time because of various taboos. Even blood is sacred. So coming from that background, that's when she would advocate for more privacy in the publicly shared spaces. So I wouldn't say we can say toilet for those who are menstruating, because even you're looking at it, sometimes one of the people if they know it
that was my next question.
But then make it private. My toilets actually, my private stalls, my you know, and doors, and plenty of water, so that munu can abuda look fresh and hygienic, and even disposal of those pads and whatever they're using as well.
Naisibo, takatarisa iyo inyaya that we are talking about. When you're talking about advocating for sexual and reproductive health services, last week I had Wamwakomana who came from Epworth, Heathcliff, and they were talking about, they've got a program that they're running with National AIDS Council and Brother to Brother, and they were saying even now to know this kokutichi kana ndiri kuchikoro ndikaona musikana azvispoila ndifa ngomseka. Instead, ndonombatsira kutsvaga pad because it shouldn't be something that's taboo, which means we are now normalizing our periods. And I actually thought because isusu when we grew up, it was exactly like what you are saying. Good, and I thought maybe you have actually now started opening up when it comes to issues of menstruation, and as a result you can actually even easily advocate for some of the issues that you would want.
Yes.
Elaborate.
We have come to a point where we are beginning to advocate for it, right? It's something that's starting, but not everyone is still free. You know, even in schools, if you get up and you've spoiled, the boys will laugh at you, you know. So it's something that, it's a good initiative that they've actually started, the brother to brother, because the boys need to be taught on this, because all that touting that they do, I end up losing confidence. I lose my self-esteem. So the boys should be taught more about our menstruation cycle.
Yes, we have Piwe Tandabani, who's saying very important topic. Thank you so much, Saliwe. Great to see Daphne taking part in this discussion. And there was one which was at the top, which was saying Go Sibo. Before we even started, that person was already saying Go Sibo, and I'm like, oh my goodness. And Tanaka Mkuwa is saying Go Go. So really, it's an important issue that we are discussing. Coming to you, Saliwe, what would you say are the major health conditions that are associated with lack of menstrual health and hygiene services, particularly for the young girls?
So the major health conditions, firstly, most young people end up using unhygienic materials, or because of the economic hardships. When they get access to pads, the times they take to change the pads, you know, they can go for 8 hours, 12 hours, or even more with the same pad. So the health issues are associated with, you know, lack of access to the hygienic materials, and also then it also comes down to issues such as period-related health issues, which they would not have information about, such as dysmenorrhea, endometriosis. All those are issues that are treatable, but because of lack of information or knowing where to go, they end up having issues with that. And then mental health issues, particularly, people sideline these, but it's very, very important to talk about the mental state of the young girls. I think Sibo has alluded to the fact that now that the conversations are opening up, they're feeling more comfortable, and they are not, you know, they don't shy away from their peers. But previously, or in spaces where it's not happening, you know, just that stigma that's associated with your menstruation, and maybe you don't have anything to use, you can't even borrow from your friend. So it affects your mental well-being, and this is a serious health issue that also needs to be addressed for the young people as well.
Let's touch on the issue of access in terms of, when we're talking about pads, sometimes we just think, yeah, it's a pad, but is every girl able to access a pad, cotton wool? And if not, what then would they end up using?
So unfortunately, Tadero, not every girl can access pads or menstrual hygiene products. The popular ones that we use, that are used by most young people, are the pads and cotton wool. But then we also have a wide range. We've got tampons, we've got menstrual cups, and we also have reusable sanitary pads, which are things that the young people are using. Without access to these, unfortunately, they resort to using unhygienic materials. Some use cloth and fabric, which is not new, because even our mothers used to use cloth and fabric. But then it's the frequency of changing, the material that's using, is it absorbent enough? Are you washing it so that it's clean enough? Is it dry when you use it? So there are many other factors that also happen here. But then we also have areas which research has shown that areas such as Binga, they found girls using things such as cow dung, bark, leaves. So anything that they can use to absorb the blood so that they can carry on with life.
End up using that. Definitely coming to you in terms of access to water, because we do know when you are on your periods, that's the time when you need to be bathing 2-3 times a day. And when you are changing, the issue of even the reusable pads, when we are talking about there's no water at your toilets at the university, how has the issue of water impacted you as adolescent girls, particularly on mental health issues? Menstrual health, listen to me, I'm talking about mental health, menstrual health issues.
Yeah, the issue of water is very crucial, because if there is no water, then it will mean that you will have to go to your hostel, and you have to leave your lectures proceeding, and you'll be greatly disturbed because the time you take kunochigeza manje nekuti kana washaya mvura coastal, at least you have that bucket of yours yaunochengeto yako personally, not from the tap. But so it will be better than kuti waniso kuchikoro kune kusina, so you have to go to your hostel bath, and when you come back others are already vatodzidza vatokumberi. So mvura, yeah, it's very important kuti waniso mabathrooms nematoilets epachikoro anga ine mvura. And also focusing on those who are in the rural areas where there are no taps at all. Some schools had this facility kungoti vanoisa a tank for the girls specifically, so that when you need to bath, you use the water from the tank. And then those who don't have, as facing the same difficulty, that they don't bath, they end up using tissues to just wipe, and life goes on.
Coming to you, Sibo, particularly this issue when we are looking at the challenges that adolescent girls then face. We had my health conditions that will then happen once you don't wash, you don't change regularly like you're supposed to. Even the issue of the reusable pads, are they friendly to you as adolescent girls?
As adolescent girls, we mostly prefer using things such as pads. That is what we're accustomed to. But in the event that you don't have access to these, and also because of things such as affordability, you end up resorting to using your cloths and your reusable pads. But it is not our first port of call. We prefer other things to the cloths, because usually we've had stories where they complain that they've had bruises, and also because of the water situation, like she was saying, we have dirty water, so a person will wash them, it won't be completely clean. So it's something that you end up using, but it's not something you prefer to use.
Saliwe, coming to you again, I'm looking at an adolescent girl, Argumusha. How is the situation?
So the situation for an adolescent girl in the rural area is actually quite bad as well. I'm just looking at access to menstrual hygiene products. Kumusha, they have nothing to use as well. And then Kumusha, we are also looking at a strong cultural background where people are not free to talk about it and communicate. So with limited resources, they prioritize other things in the household, not pads and whatever the girl needs to use. So Kumusha, they end up using cloths and other materials like I spoke about. And we've had cases of girls who actually miss school during the days that they're having their cycle, because they would rather be at home, or some actually just go and sit it out and bleed out because they've got nothing to use. Then with regards to the water situation, some of them have in good rainy seasons, they have good access to water because but we found situations like in the drier months when water is scarce and they are walking distances because when you are talking about menstrual health and hygiene, we are saying bath twice a day, for example. But when you look at the materials and that they're using for menstrual hygiene and to take care of themselves, we've seen that the girls in the rural areas are more acceptance of reusable pads is better in the rural spaces because everything, all sorts of things as well. So this pad is something which is comfortable for them. It's something also which is more convenient, and it allows them to go to school. So they have something which is reliable to carry them through. So acceptability of the reusable pads has been better in the rural areas. We've also seen that other products, because as an organization there was a time where we also got menstrual cups for them to be able to use in the rural areas. So we still have a long way to go. To explain
because a lot of people have got confusion.
So unfortunately I didn't bring any with me. But you just, it's a cup you fold it a bit to insert it into your vagina.
Yes.
And then it collects the blood. So what you'll be doing is, when you pull it out, it's like a cup. It's got the blood. You wash it out, then you can use it. So the same cup, you are using it. But then in terms of acceptability in the rural areas, it's now an issue of education, because as much as we read and know on social media that people are engaging in sexual activity at a very young age, every parent wants to believe that their daughter is a virgin.
Yes.
So for you to come and then say use this cup, even though they say it doesn't damage the hymen,
that's what I wanted to say.
The trust is still
a cup when my parents are actually skeptical even about a tampon.
So that's the issue. But it's like I said, education. Create awareness about the benefits of using a cup in terms of when you're using one cup, they say you can use it for up to 10 years.
Oh, really?
So exactly. So it becomes, cost effective as well. But then what the major hurdle that we have to overcome is getting our mindsets to accept it as a product. Yeah.
And in terms of just demystifying menstruation, where we are saying in some communities it's a taboo, and we don't want to talk about it, yet it's a natural process. For us to be here as people, it's because someone menstruated and was able to then childbear. It's a process that we should embrace as communities. How do we get to that point?
So in terms of our communities, we need to include everyone in the dialogue. I think previously we would think menstruation was a female-only issue or a girls-only issue. And so even in the school space, when they talk about this, and they're discussing these issues, even in the home, you are free to talk about it with your sisters and with your mother or your aunts or whoever. But I think we need to get to a point where everyone is involved in this conversation because it's everyone's issue.
Yes.
So in the school system, it's there in science and biology. Boys should learn about menstruation. But in addition to knowing the biological facts, they should be taught about respect and values, so that they just don't know that when, at this time of the cycle, a girl bleeds. But then how do I value and appreciate and respect this girl even during that stage? And then conversations in forums where men are also, in the communities. These are topics that are also supposed to be discussed. For example, we go into communities and they're saying, how has COVID-19 impacted you? Yes. Yeah, it's a topic that we talk about. So let's just talk about it. How, what are we doing to help the females in our homes, particularly now we've got limited resources, limited economically. So conversations have to start at whatever level that we can, including the males, so that we all appreciate that it's everyone's issue. And it's good that, even in parliament, they're debating about it. So, as long as we talk about it, we'll get there eventually.
I want to hear from the young girls in terms of breaking the silence associated with menstruation. How, from your own perspective as young girls, how can we do that? Starting maybe with you, Sibo.
All right. I think the best way to do it is, as she has mentioned, to get the boys from a very young age also involved in it, to have them also leading the advocacy themselves. That way, when other boys and other older men see other men being engaged, we break the silence. And also us as women, not making it seem as if, it's something that's so sacred, something that can't be discussed. Because I also believe us as girls and women, we also play a part in breaking the silence. Yes.
Yes. Daphne, your thoughts?
Okay, I think this advocacy of the menstrual thing should start at a family setup, where as parents, they should at least educate their children at a tender age. Especially those who have the boys and the girls, they should not make the girl life private and the boys private. They should at least teach them together what the girl will will be experiencing in life, and what the boy will be experiencing, and what is expected for the girl to do, and what is also expected for the boy, so that from their family they know, because there are situations where even your brother will laugh at you at school when you have spoiled. So if your brother starts, then the community will be
Saliwe, when we are looking at, I don't know whether it's the food or whatever that has changed, we are finding that some girls are actually going on their menses at 7, 8 years, at an early age as an organization. Are you witnessing that? And how best can we assist this young girl to be able to know this is how I'm going to?
So it's like you said, we don't know if it's the food. I don't know if anyone has done that research, but we are seeing girls as young as grade 3, grade 4, starting their periods. I know sometimes, you know, when we started, we never used to concentrate so much in the primary schools. Or when you go to a primary school and you say, those who are already on their periods, please come here for pads, you'd get maybe less than 20 in a school. But now the number is increasing. So young girls are starting their periods much younger, and I really, as a mother, I really pity those mothers, because you can imagine it, 8 years. What's happening? But I think the positive thing that I've observed is our curriculum really has adapted to this.
Yes.
I remember, I think when I went to school, we started talking about the reproductive cycle in grade 7. Yes. But now it's coming in earlier grades as well. So as they are also introduced to these things in those early grades, when it happens to them, it's not unfamiliar, because it's not like a shock. They've heard about it before. And I think more and more we need to build the capacity of our teachers, so that they just develop a love for these young girls beyond the teacher-child relationship. It's not about maths, biology, Shona, whatever you are teaching them. But we thought in the grade 4, the teacher should know. This child at my periods, and also help them, particularly when they're away from home, away from the mothers. I think that's how we can help. But it all goes back to openness in the conversations, openness in the relationships, and building trust as well.
There are campaigns that are done, pads drive that are done, where people are saying, if condoms can be given for free, why can't pads be given for free? Could you share with us the rationale behind that? Why for women and even some men, because I've seen quite a number of men who are actually leading these pads drives, where they are collecting pads and then go and donate. What's the rationale behind that? Because we'd want even our policymakers who might be watching to assist us when it comes to that. But I'm sure we need to have our arguments right, speak with eloquence when it comes to our wants, particularly on this particular issue.
So the rationale behind this drive for pads is, we remember 25 years ago where we were with HIV and AIDS. It was a real pandemic. And there was that campaign for condoms to be made available so that people could have protected sex. And so basically, from our organization's standpoint, we are coming from that point that, you know what, when we advocate for something, we can make a positive contribution to it. Because now, 25 years down the line, we know we can talk positive stories in relation to HIV and AIDS. So we are now looking at the next pandemic that's there, and this is menstrual health and hygiene. So it's something that has been there for the longest time, even before HIV and AIDS, but it's something that was not being spoken about. And they're saying, let's just rally together. Let's rally our policy makers. Let's rally our private sector. Let's rally everyone, that everyone has to play a part. Please donate pads so that we support the girls and keep them in school. So when we do these pad campaigns, we are not saying pads are more important than condoms, because I've seen people having that argument. It's not that they're more important, but they're equally as important. And the argument people then say is sex is a choice. This is actually, it's not a choice. I need pads. I need something to use when I'm menstruating. But we are coming from a point of view that we need combat. Everyone has to play a part to tackle what we are facing today with regards to period poverty. So whether you are in government, whether you are in private sector, you're an NGO or a church, let's just campaign so that we make resources available so that we are able to reach out with pads to the disadvantaged girls.
Yeah, I want to come to you, Sibo, when it comes to this particular issue that we are discussing, where as women, as young women, you are advocating for easy access to menstrual hygiene services. What would you say are the benefits for you from your point of view as young women?
Okay, the benefits of us advocating for ourselves.
Yes, and getting those pads as well for free.
Okay, the benefits of getting those pads for free for us would mean that we have less students, less girls actually being absent from school. Because you tend to find that a girl, if her period is 7 days long, that means she's missed a whole week of school. So if they're being given for free, our enrollment goes up. And it's likewise, if you are at work, sometimes the people actually miss it because of that. So if they're there for free, that means we have more people going to work, more young girls going to school. Also, you tend to find that some young women end up resorting to prostitution just so that they can buy pads. So if they're being given for free, that means we've protected more girls from entering into prostitution if she's being given for free. Because it's many girls feel that they can't tell their parents that I've gone on my period, or some parents feel like, you know, your periods are not as important, we can't be wasting money on pads, we need food is a priority. So that means that I'm going to resort to other methods of getting those. So if they're being given for free, it makes it easier on the girl child. We become more empowered to achieve a lot more.
Yes. Definitely from your own end, when you are looking at this issue, you are coming from a tertiary institution. Is this one issue that you are saying as female students you are actually advocating for, and what are the benefits that you are seeing out of it?
Yeah, the benefits associated with advocating for the pads being given for free is that it will reduce the complications or health problems related to pads and menstrual health, because girls end up using, you know, staying up with the same pad for up to 10 hours or even a day, so that you suit your because you have purchased only one pack of pads and then you have to change maybe 3 times a day, and there are only 10 pads in the packet. And so you see that after 7 days, my pads are nenga pera, so you have to use at least the same pad for a longer time, and that method has got so many complications. So advocating for pads being given for free is actually important, because it reduces that problem.
Sally, we cannot talk about menstrual hygiene, menstruation issues without talking about, I know you earlier on just ran through the major health conditions that are associated with menstrual hygiene, with menstruation. But the one issue that many women grapple with, issue ejeko. For adolescent girls, you find them where they can't go to school, some will be throwing up, you know, some can't even eat, you know, all those 3 or 4 or 7 days, but definitely the first 3 days are just horrible.
It's true.
How do we, what are the challenges that adolescent girls are facing with that, and are there any means that we can make it easier for girls to deal with?
So yeah, period pain is a major problem for most girls, and I think the problem compounds because of the fact that we can't talk about periods. Then can I talk about period pains? And also taboos associated with cultural, you know, with period pains. They think because you are having a period pain, wakaita mskanzwa.
Really?
In some communities, yes, culturally they will tell you kuti mskana hanzwi jeko rinosvika pakudaiso. You know, there's something that you have done. Kana kuti wakapfekedana nemunhu skate, kana kuti wakasunga bhande rakafanana neumwe munhu, you know, there are so many things that are associated with it.
But is that true?
Oh,
so
these are taboos. These are myths.
Personally,
I think these are just myths and taboos that we have.
You know,
I equated to kukura tichinzwa kuti ukagara murodhi unodyiwa neshumba kana it's just protecting you somehow. And I think it was protecting from all the other ailments that you can get from sharing clothes. But not kuti, I'm not sure, I don't want people to dispute me on this, but I don't think kuti it's very true kuti you perpetuate period pain because of this. But how do we tackle this? It's like for our organization, when we go into the schools, we just don't go and hand out pads. We take time to talk to the girls about the menstrual cycle and all the other things that they can expect with the menstrual cycle. We are talking about the changes in your body. We are talking about your body removing the waste blood at the end of the month because you have not conceived. So obviously there's a tightening of the uterine wall which causes that discomfort. Then we also talk about all the other things that they can expect to see, even diarrhea, nausea, you spoke about that. And then how can you remedy these things? Most of these things can be remedied just by a painkiller. Kutovaudza kuti ukaenda clinic ukati ndikunzwa jeko unogona kupiwa painkiller, or a female teacher or guidance and counselor or whoever from a first aid kit. So in addition to giving the pads, we are giving menstrual health and hygiene education so that girls know. So it's not just about period pain, it's all about all the other complications that they can expect. For example, umemsikana anogona kuita period really more than 10 to 14 days. So they need to know what's the normal cycle. When I see my cycle going beyond these days, what do I do? Sometimes they tell you, ndakaenda period 1 month, then I skipped a month, then I did another month and whatever. So all this is information that they need. Saka, our package when we go into the schools and interact with the girls, it's not just the pads. That's what I'm trying to say. It's about the education there. And also, where do you go in case you need help? What's key is we tell them, ukaona anything happening to your body and you don't understand it, talk about it. Ask someone you trust so that you can get help. Because chances are, if you get help quickly enough, you are avoiding a bigger problem that might be coming. Ukaramba wakanyarara wine problem.
Yeah. And for some girls, you hear them talking about now using family planning tablets to actually stop the period from coming. Is that advisable for young girls?
No. It's not advisable because it's sad, but
maybe before looking at is it advisable, let's hear from the young girls. Is that a rampant practice when you're looking at adolescent girls where people actually take family planning tablets to stop bleeding, or to just say this month I don't want to have my period?
Yes, it is. It happens quite often, especially in tertiary setups where that stuff is easily available. For adolescent girls, not so much. A person will go for a month, 2 months. Their period can be consistent. And like she said, because I don't have that information that something could be wrong, we'll continue. But in tertiary institutions, definitely.
Why are you stopping it?
From a tertiary school point of view, right, it could be, oh, my boyfriend is coming over and I'm on my period, so he can't find me on my period, so I'm going to take it, right? And for some, I will speak from a personal experience. I once went for 3 months on my period, and had I known about that, I probably would have taken them, But only then did my aunt then say, this is getting out of hand, only to then realize that I actually had a problem, polyfollicular cysts. So had I known about it, I would have taken these. Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah, just as Sibo has already alluded to, it's just that, those silly reasons, my boyfriend is coming over, or the fact that periods are generally irritating somehow, especially at tertiary where we have got fashion and so on. Sometimes the dress I want to wear would not even allow me to wear that pad and that uncomfortable step with pads, So you end up definitely taking those family planning pills to stop the period and be free and do everything you want. So I'm coming back to you, Saliwe, where then I was saying, is it advisable? Because I remember talking to somebody who was saying she did that once, and then when she had the other period, she's like, it's like I've opened a tape. Because the period now was not normal. It was quite heavy. So is that normal also to then say if you skip, then the next one, if you induce the skipping, the next one comes in heavy, or it differs from person to person? And is it advisable?
It differs from person to person, but it's not advisable, because the cases that we've had of people who are stopping their periods, like the girls have alluded to, it's really for reasons of having sex, or, you know, like they're saying, just childish, what we adults call childish reasons. But it's really not advisable to start family planning period tablets at that early age, because, you know, with anything else, family planning tablets come with their positives and their negatives. So you're already introducing the possibility of you having the negative side effects in your system just because you want to have sex with your boyfriend. And I was joking with the others that, you know, that period sex actually cures period pain. They've actually said that. So that having sex during your periods, it reduces period pain. So I was just laughing with some young ladies, and they're saying that rather than stop the period.
Is that hygienic though?
So that's now, it's now personal preference between you and your partner, and so many other things that come into play. But you know, it is actually an interesting fact. It is an interesting fact.
Okay, then still looking at the issue of blood, menstruation, how are menstrual hygiene and health issues impacting on HIV and AIDS services?
So when we look at them at a basket of services. We are not looking at HIV alone. It's the whole bucket of sexual reproductive health and services, and that also encompasses the family planning that we are talking about. So menstrual health and hygiene issues are affected in the same way, particularly when you're looking in rural communities. The issue of access, access. So you see, access to these services, sometimes they have to go to the clinics, which are too far. Sometimes it's the issue of resources, they don't have the money. So it's looking at the whole basket. So with regards to HIV and AIDS services, we always, you know, like we are going around advocating for women-friendly services. You see that, you know, we are coming out of an era where women were afraid to go to local clinics to talk about sexual-related issues, you know, because clinic sister, and we're coming out of that era. And you're saying that same sister, because you're now trusting them with all the other information regards to your sexuality, why not trust them as well with regards to menstrual health and hygiene? So you're saying, let's not look at menstrual health and hygiene as an individual thing that affects someone. But when you're talking about access to services on sexual reproductive health, be it family planning, HIV, AIDS, and whatever, let's improve the access to everyone in all communities.
And tomorrow we are commemorating Menstrual Health and Hygiene Day. Could you share more about this day and why we need to commemorate it?
Okay, so this is an international day where we are, as we rightfully say, commemorating menstrual health and hygiene. And it's important for us to be able to just remember, actually the whole month of May is Menstrual Hygiene Month. So in our conversations, we are saying whatever platform that you have, let's talk about menstrual health and hygiene. Really, this cultural silence is not a Zimbabwe issue, it's a global issue. You'll be surprised at the similarities that we have with various cultures on how we've treated menstruation. So it's important for us to commemorate this day because we want to break the silence with regards to menstruation and the issues that are affecting girls. We also want to commemorate it so that everyone is conscious of the factors that we've just discussed here. We've spoken about the prohibitive costs that girls can't afford. So let's improve the conversations. We also want to, you know, just commemorate through giving access. You know, like our organization, we're just saying, find a girl, find someone to assist throughout the whole month. As you're buying your bread and milk, just buy an extra pack of pads so that you give someone who's disadvantaged. And then this year, as we are commemorating it, the theme is talking about we need more action and more investment in menstrual health and hygiene, particularly when you're looking at their countries which have gone a step further where there's no free access of menstrual hygiene products, particularly in schools. So we are saying as well, let's take action. And I've spoken about this before. Everyone should take action, whether you're in government, private sector, male, female, everyone should take action. So as we commemorate it today, let's just increase on the dialogue and our commitment to action on menstrual health and hygiene.
Yeah, considering the taboo, the silence that's there in terms of this particular issue. When someone says, why should we break the silence? really, because we shouldn't be talking about it. And
Yeah.
why should we break the silence?
Because women are suffering in silence, basically. Because sometimes when you speak to other people and tell them, "Kuti, there's a girl who misses 5 days of school because she doesn't have anything to use," they'll look at you in surprise, like, sure. You know, yes. So it's important for us to break the silence so that everyone is aware of what happens and everyone can play a part. I think that's what's most important.
Yeah. So how
even in the family setup, we've had, I remember this other time we went to give pads after Cyclone Idai in Chimanimani, and we had traditional leaders at that place where we were speaking to girls. Yeah. So Wanasabugwana headman, and afterwards they came to us and they were like, you know what? Taiziva kuti vasikana vanoita maperiods asi matauriro amaita ndarwadziwa nekuti even mumba mangu handitombozvi kuti vasikana vanongokura handisi kuziva kuti vari kushandisei vari kuita sei. So like Devin also alluded to, in the family setup, these are conversations that we have to have. Yeah. So let's break the silence. Let's break the silence so that everyone is involved, everyone owns the problem, and everyone wants to solve it together collectively.
So how are you going to commemorate the day?
So as an organization, as Talia Women's Network, we have a crowdfunding page that we run throughout the year, the PEDS drive that you're speaking about. So tomorrow we are going to Madziwa Secondary School, which is just close to Shamba. There are 300 girls who are going to be waiting for us. We'll spend 2-3 hours with them talking about menstrual health and hygiene, talking about sexual health, sexual reproductive health and rights. Because we also know about the effects of the pandemic, the teenage pregnancies, unwanted pregnancies. So we speak to them about the whole basket of issues. Then we also distribute reusable pads to them. Yeah.
300 girls.
Yes.
In the COVID era, how are you going to ensure that COVID-19
So
protocols?
they are in school. And the school has, you know, the way the schools, they have a hot system that some are coming in and some are coming at particular times. So we are having them in the classes, in the groups which have already been said they are safe by the teachers. So we just go there and we have got a team. Yeah. Many people will just be going to the various groupings and talking to them.
Perfect. Yeah. I want to hear from the girls your views on the day in terms of us setting aside a day where we are saying, let's just commemorate and celebrate our periods, celebrate our blood. It's important. What's your view on that?
I think this is a good initiative, definitely. And it's like you said, someone had to menstruate in order for us to be born. So it's not something that we should shun away from because it's a life birthing process. So let's celebrate it. And like she said, we need to break the silence. That because so many of us have been suffering in silence. So the more we can commemorate it, the more people know about it, people become more aware. Because it's like she said, when you get into a shop, you just buy pads. You can give them to someone. To someone else, 99 RTGS is nothing. Yeah. So just commemorating it and building up the hype and being able to give back to those young girls that can't afford goes a long way. Yes. So the day is indeed special and very necessary.
Definitely your view on the day where we are saying we are setting aside a day, and Saliwe has said even May as a whole month, it's actually menstrual hygiene month, which is almost like Women's Month. Now we've got this, your view in terms of us having a month where we are just celebrating our periods. How important is that to you as a young person?
Yeah, it's all important because I get to at least be more comfortable that it's natural that I should be having my menstrual periods, and it will also prevent us getting to the point where we are trying to stop the periods. We will be proud that we are having our menstrual cycles on time. And I don't know if all the women are aware of this month, because I myself, I was not even aware of it. So I don't know what are the possible ways we have to make sure that all women are aware of this month as we are commemorating it, because it's all important.
Yeah. And do you have any personal stories that you might have experienced, or even your peers at varsity or from where you come from, in terms of how you've been affected, impacted with the issues of menstrual health and hygiene.
Okay, just speaking to my peers, I was not aware that there are other girls, because of the lack of sanitary wear, they've resorted to using things like cow dung, things like ndove. That I was actually surprised.
About that,
yes.
And I always wonder, how is it used? Yeah, continue. I think it's something that I need to ask Samia to elaborate for us.
When my friend was telling me about it, she said that they just shape it in such a way that it can sit on your panty, and from there it just goes on, And for other girls, they're using things like leaves, and also even in schools, many of the girls that are coming in, they have not been taught how a pad is worn. And these are things that I was actually surprised, because we take them for granted. Yes.
Definitely. Any testimony or any experiences, personal experiences or experiences from your peers?
Yeah, personally, I was really affected by my menstrual cycles. They started earlier when I was grade 5 primary school. So it was so difficult. I could not even walk with the pads. I had to stay home the whole week, because the moment I would try walking around with the pad, sometimes it would fall and I would be embarrassed.
I know.
At school. So it was really difficult. I started being comfortable with my menses when I was about Form 3. All this time I missed my school the whole week, and I had excessive period pains that I could not even stand up or sit down, or I had to sleep all day long. So I think there should be a possible way to maybe giving those painkillers in schools and making them accessible in clinics. Because sometimes we go to the clinic, my mom had the idea that painkillers would work, but then at the clinic you go there, they say we don't have. And you are now supposed to buy, and you go to the shops and they say, we don't have, or they are even more expensive to buy. So it was a horrible time for me.
How old were you?
I was 10.
Goodness me. So did you know like anything about periods?
No, I didn't.
So, how did it happen?
I didn't know anything. It just happened that someday we were in the classroom, and I used to sit at the back because I didn't like to sit in the front. So I was sitting at the back. I was actually dozing off that day. And then I woke up and so everyone was laughing in the classroom, and there was this whole flow of blood going to the front of the classroom. And then the teachers came and just raped me with their zabias, and they, Yes.
And it was your first time to hear about it?
It was my first time to hear about that, and they tried to explain, this is growing up, and they didn't even make it clear, I don't know why they do that.
I'm sure they also, because at 10, that's exactly what we're talking about, your stories, Then, Saliwe, how do we then move girls from this silence, the culture of silence, linked to, I would call it period silence. That is the way as communities, as girls. And if you hear from Daphne's story, at 10, she had no clue. She just saw blood coming out, and I'm even surprised the other ones were actually laughing, because sometimes you'd think when you're that young, you had never heard about a period. You think, or something, How do we move away from that silence? Do we make girls move from that silence?
I think it's just improving their confidence and self-awareness. I think that's something that we need to start teaching young girls at a young age to be proud of their femininity, proud of who they are. So when you accept yourself, and you are more free to talk about it. So I think as much as we speak about breaking the silence, talking about menstrual health and hygiene, it also comes into who you are as a person and valuing yourself, knowing that I'm precious. I when I talk to some of the girls, I say, you know what, we are all made in the image of God. So what's happening to you, it's special. You are precious. Value your womanhood. So when you value your womanhood, you are comfortable talking about it in various spaces. So I know it's a process, and I know I've got a 17-year-old daughter, and she is even uncomfortable talking to me about it but she knows this is my mother's job. But you know, when she's on her periods and she says, I'm a period pain, and if I want to you ask loudly, you see she's uncomfortable talking about it. So it's something that's just inborn within us, that we are uncomfortable talking about it, but we need to make girls, increase their confidence, as well as the educators, the teachers that rescued Daphne, though they also need to be aware of how to handle these situations and also not bring the girl to shame. It should not be a shameful experience.
And when you are looking at your whole initiative as an organization, what would you say these have been our major successes when we are looking at issues of menstrual health and hygiene services?
So for us to be talking about this, Tari, it's a major success, because 5 years ago we never used to talk about it. So we are having these conversations, and for us to be seeing debates in Parliament, it means that the whole movement collectively, we are doing something positive. So when I speak about successes, I can talk about our organization's successes. I can tell you that we've reached so many goals, but for me that's not success. Success for me is our collective effort. I always say, as women's organizations, whoever is in this space, let's lobby and let's do everything together, because our collective impact will be more than our individual contribution. So for me, Parliament, the budget from 2 years ago, there's an allocation for menstrual hygiene products. That's a huge success. So we now need to move to the next step. Are the resources being allocated? Is there equal access for all the girls, so that we can continue to track our success and the accountability? But for us to be having these conversations, I think for me it's a major success.
It's a major success.
Yeah, it's a major success.
Coming to the girls, what would you say is the future that you would want to see when it comes to issues of menstrual hygiene? The future that you are saying, this would be friendly for us. This is what we would want to see. If this happens as girls, as young women, we will be happy.
What I think would make us as girls very happy would be having free sanitary wear. If we follow in the footsteps of Scotland, just making it free for everyone, that would go a long way. And even just having water available. Water is, the water shortages at the moment make it very difficult. But if we make sure that we have a consistent, safe supply of water available in schools and even in public areas, and that will go a long way in making us women happy and very comfortable.
Daphne?
Yeah, adding on to what Sibo has already said, we would be very happy in the future if menstrual education is available at a younger age, because we find that even now some of our peers are not aware of when is the next period. They will be surprised, or every month is a surprise. You don't know when is the next. Is it after 3 weeks? Is it after 4? Is it after 2? You don't know. So there should be education, which is adequate education, that you know what is happening, how does it happen,
Sally, with the issue of water that the girls are talking about, it's a major challenge. How can we address that as a country? Particularly just linking it to menstrual hygiene?
I think as a country, we need to address the water system. We just need to address our water challenges. We see that in many residential areas, when you're looking at an urban setup, they've been drilling boreholes. And it's a good step, but the boreholes are not enough, because people still spend many hours queuing for water. And when you queue for water that way, who can then have enough water for them to take care of their hygienic needs? And there's also need to protect women in these spaces, because we know of harassment and bullying that's happening in these places. So I think the water situation is something that needs to be addressed high up. Make water available, running water in all the homes. I mean, it's something that has to be done. And not just for the women, it's for everyone's benefit. And then when we come to those water sources, the ones that we are improvising right now, let's protect the women in those spaces. For them to be harassed and bullied, sometimes not even getting access to the water. And we all know what periods do to a woman. You just don't need that added pressure at that time
Exactly.
of the month.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm even thinking when you're spending the whole day in a water queue, maybe you need to actually go and change your pad.
Exactly.
But
And
you are still waiting for the water.
And your hormones are up and down, the emotions as well. So like I mentioned at the start, that emotional well-being is also key.
Yes.
It's all these factors that we need to take into consideration.
All right, thank you very much. That's quite powerful. Your last words to Zimbabweans, Sibo, looking at the issue of menstrual hygiene.
Okay, my last words would be that menstrual health and hygiene are not a women problem. It's a we problem. We all need to be involved in the advocacy and creating safe spaces for women to be able to express themselves.
Daphne?
Yeah, my last words to Zimbabwe is that there's this common statement which goes like, together we can, divided we fall. So let's unite in this menstrual health advocacy so that we all benefit. Together we can.
Yes, definitely. Saliwe, your final words?
Okay, so without repeating what the ladies have said, I'm going to challenge private sector, because those who know me know this is where my heart is with private sector, that are we doing enough?
Yes.
We've seen government playing their role. They've allocated for menstrual health and hygiene in the budget, in the school system. But as private sector, sometimes we tend to stay in our cocoon and think it doesn't affect us. But these women and girls are our future workforce.
Yes.
We need to invest in them. So rather than think it's just a government thing or an NGO thing, because we see that there's a perspective that people just think NGOs are dealing with it.
Yes.
And you're saying that NGOs, organizations, whoever, they are crying for help.
Yes.
They need your assistance. So my last words would be to challenge private sector that amongst your corporate social responsibility initiatives, what are you doing to address this challenge?
Definitely, and I think you and I will also need to be challenged, really, to say what role are we playing in ensuring that women and girls access menstrual health and hygiene services. Like what Sibo said, it's not a women's issue, it's a we issue. Even if you're a father, you're a brother within the home, just make sure that your sister, your mother, whoever is within your home, at least their health services when it comes to menstrual health needs are catered for. It's been a pleasure, and as we commemorate the day tomorrow, like what they said, let's remember to break the silence that is associated with issues of menstruation, issues of the blood. As women, we are proud of our periods. We are proud of our blood. I would like to thank the three ladies, Saliwe, Nkosi, and Daphne, for taking your time to come and be with us, as well as thank my colleague, Maslin Shamu, who has been assisting me on the sign language desk, as well as our technical crew from SlyMedia. Always a pleasure for making sure that the discussion goes smoothly. Until tomorrow, it's goodbye.